Other teams wish they could do this, as we have a massive report about Aaron Ekblad's new contract from Bill Zito and the Florida Panthers, and it is a steal that other teams in the NHL wish that they could replicate. We have to break down what Aaron Ekblad's contract is, the implications this has for the rest of free agency and the Florida Panthers going forward, and why it has every other NHL fan up in arms, so upset about what's happening in Florida. We have a ton we got to break down coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ, even some Brad Marchand implications. But hey, before we get into the video, guys, we're nearly at 20,000 subscribers. We got videos coming out every single day on all the latest offseason news. It's getting crazy every single day, and if you want to stay up to date, hit the free button down below. Let's get straight into it, Darius. This actually, from the cabin, from Bobby Mack himself, all signs point to Aaron Ekblad in Florida making progress on a long-term deal that, assuming it's finalized, would take the veteran defenseman out of free agency. And he said, you know, he could have gotten an 8-year, maybe $9 million AAV deal on the open market, but even with the state tax considerations, he'd be leaving considerable money on the table. But then we heard what the actual contract was. Now, Friedman said it's about 8 by 6.1. Now, I've seen 6.25 also floating around. Regardless, it's between 6 and 6.5 million per year. My first reaction, Darius, was I am upset. This is insane. They cannot keep getting away with this. How do you feel when you see this? Because to me, I just put my head in my hands and I was like, there's no way. This team is just never going to blow up.
I cannot believe they can keep getting away with this. They keep getting away with it. They keep getting away with it. And I mean, good for them. Good for them, because whether it's 6.1 or 6.2, it doesn't matter for the Florida Panthers, because they got their guy for $3 or maybe $4 million cheaper than market value because he wanted to stay there. And that's the real reason I think that, you know, they got this done. We'll get into that as to why all these guys are signing for less to stay in Florida. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at all the projections that have come out over the last little while, the projections don't even account for how the salary cap is going up the next couple of years. And they had him at $9.5 million. So you can only imagine maybe a $10 million contract, maybe even close to $11 million on the open market. Now, we were hearing it was probably going to be 9, but that's certainly not 6.1 or 6.2. They have massive cap savings here. And not only that, he's going to be making $6 million to stay in Florida while the cap is going up $10 million every year for the next 8 years. He signed an 8-year contract extension. Absolutely ludicrous. He's staying there through his best years. He's still in his prime right now. They still are, you know, they keep getting away with this stuff. It's unbelievable. We'll get into the tax stuff, all of that stuff in a second, because I feel like it must at this point play into this, because this is absolutely absurd, Josh.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's a few things we can dive into here. Like you said, the projections, this is Scotia stat, like, pretty confidently 7-year 9.2 or 8-year 9.5. Yeah, not even close, right? Like, just not even close. And I know he only played 56 games this year. There are always problems with, well, this year was less his health. It was, something else. But, whatever. It doesn't matter. Aaron Ekblad, like, is just reliable. You know what you're going to get from Aaron Ekblad. 33 points in 56 games. Always a key player. But the thing that makes this even crazier is the other defensive signings just today. I mean, you see out of Columbus, Dante Fabro getting like $4.75 million on a deal. You get Alexander Romanov signing for more than Aaron Ekblad on the same term. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a crazy thing. But look, let's get into some of this stuff here. I want to just dive into the other Panthers stuff here for a second, because clearly, Darius, there's something with the team culture here. Sam Bennett, 8-year by $8 million. We heard that there were teams willing to pay him up into the 8 figures, up to 10 million plus per year in free agency. He said, nah, he's staying. The Panthers have something going on there where they just keep getting deal after deal. How much do you think it is the team culture? Obviously, the winning helps, right? But even with the winning, I feel like there must be something else, maybe state tax, maybe you'll give your thoughts on that is keeping these guys here, not just for below market, but for drastically below market, like 2+ million AAV below what people are saying that they could get if they had just said, let me see what else is out there.
What I truly believe it is it's a perfect storm, and no pun intended, because it does storm all the time in Florida. But I think that it is the perfect storm. Does the tax, thing kind of play into it? Yes. Does the team culture play into it? Yes. Does the winning play into it? Yes. I think it's all three things. Now, there are some loopholes in other places where, these athletes don't have to pay as much as they probably should be in taxes. We know that that's a thing out there. Of course, if you're playing somewhere else, if you're playing in Canada, you're going to pay more on taxes than if you play for the Florida Panthers. This is the fact of the matter. So that helps, right? But the other thing is the team culture. They all want to be there. They all want to win. And, I think that the travel's not that bad if you play for the Florida Panthers. It might be better with some other teams, of course, but it's not that bad, right? You never have to deal with snow besides the snow that's on the ice, right? Like, it's not a bad place to live, of course, but they've built a winning culture. And it seems like Bill Zito really takes care of his guys, right? And they all want to play for him. They love their coach in Paul Maurice. They have the right mix right now. And of course, it's paying off in playoff success. They're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And now if they retain all of these guys, which is looking more likely by the minute, they could go for a third one. There's no reason that they can't go for a third one. They've built that culture into their room. They're winners. They're winners and they play like winners. So it's very interesting. I don't think it's one thing over the other. I think it's all three things playing into it. But the fact that they got him for so cheap for the next 8 years, it's not even that. It's not even like he said, listen, I'll help you out. It's 8 years, right? It's not even like, hey, listen, I'll help you out. I'll sign for $6 million, but it's only going to be a 2-year contract. When the cap's going up, then I get a raise, right? He's not even saying that. He's saying, no, I'll stay here for the rest of my career. I love it here. I want to win here. And I'll sign for much less. I mean, it's absolutely insane for a defenseman at his caliber. Somebody was going to pay crazy money for him this offseason, and he's off the board now. He re-signs. There is something there with the Florida Panthers.
I mean, just yesterday, even earlier today, you saw when Fabro went down, like, off the market, and it was just, again, Dobson, he got traded, so he's off the market. And it's like, what are the right Ds available even in this offseason market? And it's just Aaron Ekblad. Oh my gosh, he's going to get a payday, babe. No, like, it's just insane. And again, you look at the Panthers roster here, and it's chock full of incredible contracts. Gustav Forsling, what a steal of a contract. This guy could be a number 1 or number 2 defenseman on this. I mean, he basically was this year, right? On a championship level team. And you got other guys here on good deals. Now, again, Bennett, $8 million, it might be worth it for playoff performances for a few years, but they know it's going to fall off in the long term. But like Anton Lundell, what a steal of a deal he is at $5 million. So they're building something incredible, but this leads to the final thing we're going to talk about. Brad Marchand. Now, again, I haven't crunched all the numbers, Darius, but it seems like depending on how much he's actually willing to take. Now, I know we heard talks that Marchand was going to straight up go to the highest bidder. That could still be the case because I don't think Florida will be the highest bidder anymore. But with Ekblad taking so much below market, you have to wonder, is this maybe part of their plan to bring Marchand back as well? Maybe by the time this video's out, it's already happened. I can't help but wonder, almost but worry. Like, look, I mean, good for them if they can actually do this, right? It's not like they're cheating, but it almost feels like it, right? If Marchand can actually stay for this team at a reasonable cap hit, I think that would just be the cherry on top of, honestly, what might go down as one of the craziest and best off seasons ever for a team trying to set up for another little dynasty run.
And right after winning their second, back-to-back Stanley Cup. It's unbelievable, right? But if you take a look at their current cap structure, of course, none of it's updated at the time of this recording. This signing just happened, right? This was just released. But if you take a look at their cap structure, they could re-sign Brad Marchand if he takes less. There's reports out there that he can make upwards of $8 million. Apparently, we don't know for sure, but apparently the Toronto Maple Leafs have, in theory, you can't really table anything yet because it's tampering, but in theory have tabled a 4-year, $9 million contract, which is absurd. So if you're Brad Marchand, I would imagine you want to take a deal like that. Of course, you want to maximize your earnings, especially at his age, because this is his last contract, no matter what, right? So I would imagine that, but there is a real world like Ekblad just did, right? For the next 8 years, he could take a pay cut and say, listen, I'm going to go for another Stanley Cup and I get to live in a great place. The weather's great, all these things. I don't have to pay any tax. And not any tax, but what I mean. But, and I get to play with a great team and go for another Stanley Cup in the later years of my career. I'm probably on the way out and I would like to go out with a couple more Stanley Cups. So I feel like it could really go either way. They can still technically fit him in, but it would be a significant discount. So if you're Brad Marchand right at the end of your career, do you want to go for another Stanley Cup? The possibility of that, and you're making $4 million, $5 million, which I think is still possible. They could probably still fit him in. Or do you go somewhere else like Toronto or all of these other teams that are rumored to make $8 or $9 million?
I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, also there's one thing in Florida. It's like, I mean, look, I don't want to make fun of Florida fans. Like, look, I mean, it's fun to watch this team, but like, the public pressure isn't the same as it would be in other places as well. Whether that actually makes a difference for these players, it might be a bad thing for some, good thing for others. But regardless, you get to live in Florida, you get to have a pretty chill life, probably not approached as much as you would in a city like Toronto, this kind of thing. There's so many factors at play here, but this is nuts. Other teams wish they could do it for good reason. I mean, every team wishes they could have this kind of structure that Florida does. Leave your thoughts down below right now. Some of you happy, some of you sad, mad, some of you angry, all that stuff. We'd love to hear from you, but that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We got content coming all off season long, and if you want to stay up to date, hit the free subscribe button down below. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Darius Domingues. We'll catch you in the next one.